Good morning, Madam Nahaiza Binti Hamdan. My name is Nur Najah Binti Hamdan, along with my group members, Nur Sarina and Nur Ain Afrika from TESL1. We are going to deliver a critical feedback for PSPK3013, Task 3. And for this task, we have chosen Nur Shohada Binti uh, Abdul Ghani Bikiri, who delivered an impromptu speech, My Childhood Ambition. So in this presentation, we are going to analyze her speech delivery in the aspects of clarity, audience awareness, nonverbal communication, vocal production, logical sequence, and choice of words and pronunciation. First, let us take a look at the clarity of the speaker. Clarity is an important aspect when it comes to delivering ideas because it portrays that the speaker is able to explain precisely with details. So based on our observation, the speaker is very clear about her answer towards the prompt that she has received, which is, what is your childhood ambition? And this can be seen when she explained detail by detail about the information that she wanted to convey. For example, she first explained that she had more than one childhood ambition, and then she explained the reasons why she could not achieve the ambitions with a very clear and compact sentence structure. And as the audience, we can immediately understand her points and reasonings. However, it is very important when a speaker's delivering a speech to pay attention to pauses and fillers. In this case, the speaker uses a lot of fillers when conveying her ideas because she was being cautious about her word choice. She also frequently asks, how do I say this? How do I say that? Which can disrupt the flow of the speech and confuse the audience. So, to avoid fillers, she should allow herself to pause and think so that she can properly think of the sentences that she wanted to deliver. A personal tip that I would like to share is to practice avoiding fillers when you could not think of the words that you wanted to say. Instead, we can just let our brain rest for a second to think of the word. Nonetheless, the speaker always repeats and rephrases her sentences to ensure understanding from the audience. I think this is a very good approach from her because she managed to make sure that her audience can understand her without having to ask. Because rather than asking, she simplifies and justifies her sentences. Now let's look at the audience awareness. From the speech delivery, the speaker definitely knows her audience, which can be seen from the moment she started to talk because um, before she started her speech, she asked, do you have a childhood ambition to the audience? And from that question, she knows that she will get the desired answers, which are teacher, doctor, an actor, because she understands the background of her audience. Her choice of words and range of vocabulary also suit the appropriacy of the audience because she uses words such as a workload and worth, which I personally think can be quite um, high if she does not recognize her audience. And another example that we can take from her speech to justify her audience awareness is that she told a personal story about her childhood, which some of the audience can relate to. The speaker, who is a doctor of an educator, um, shared a story whereby she used to steal chalks from her father's classroom to play pretend at home. And personally, I also have the same experience and can totally understand uh, to her stories physically and emotionally. Therefore, I think that the speaker definitely knows her target audience Now, let's move on to the next feature.
The next one is nonverbal communication. The speaker used nonverbal communication to support her speech delivery. And when the speaker used the nonverbal communication, she doesn't look stiff or awkward. And she visualized her pretended to be a teacher moment very well by like acting like a teacher in front of the audience. And then the speaker used gesture to emphasize the phrase at one time like this, and yes by nodding her head and also no by shaking her head. That gesture allows the audience to understand that she meant it like this and this, which means that if the audience doesn't hear her verbal communication clearly, they can still understand based on her nonverbal communication. However, I saw that she used excessive nonverbal cues, which is unnecessary. Because when she used excessive nonverbal cues, it makes herself look nervous. Like the audience could sense her nervousness when the speaker, like in the during our observation, I saw that she walks around too much and too fast. Besides, she keeps on looking at the floor and also the ceiling, like she wants to remember the things, but the behavior seems like it's not professional, I think. And she keeps on moving her hands, which is, I think, it is too much and it's really unnecessary for her to move it too often. However, the speaker made her speech very clear to the audience because through the use of nonverbal communication, she can support her verbal communication, which is her speech, and make the ideas delivered to the audience more precise or clear. Because the audience listen and also see what she is doing at the front. So through the body language that she used, the audience can understand her clearly. So the next one is vocal production. Vocal production is about her volume, clarity, and variety of the voice tone, which is when I observe the speaker, which is Shuhada, she opened her mouth and also unclenched her jaw idly, which makes the articulation of the words seems clear, which audience can understood her the word one by one because she opened her mouth big and she pronounced it clearly. And then uh, there is one time where she used another pitch of her voice when she acted the pretended to be a teacher moment where she flashback her ambition when she wants to be a teacher and she acted it like the way like she makes her pitch go higher, like different from the normal tone when she delivered the speech, which is interesting. It is it is interesting because when people use different pitch, it's like a attention grab, and also um, the speaker maintain her speech pace and volume in for her speech pace, she did not go too fast or too slow, which is she is in average pace, which is suitable for speech delivery. And also her volume is not that high and it's not that low, which is like everyone in the room can hear her voice clearly without having any trouble, like without having any trouble. However, in her vocal production, there is no variation. And based on my experience, listen to her speech, I nearly lost interest because when she have the same pace, the speech look dull because it's better if she like um, sometimes she use the fast pace or maybe like slow down just to grab the attention of the audience. And then she used the same volume of her voice, which made the speech boring. Maybe like she can increase her volume when she like going excited. She need to increase her volume to make the scene live, and it's one way to grab the audience attention too, so that the audience doesn't lose their focus on the speech. Besides, I think there is pauses, but there's no like pauses that make us as the audience curious about her next sentence. The pause is like more like a filler because she doesn't know the next words to say, or she forgot the word to say. However, overall, the speaker projected her voice very well and clear because everyone can hear her voice, and her articulation is very good, which is appropriate for a speech delivery. Then I will pass to the next point.
Okay. The next one is logical sequence. The speaker arranges her ideas in an organized manner, and this results in smooth delivery in terms of the idea flow. Hence, the message of her speech becomes clearer as the audience can catch the faces together along with the speaker. Then they could become an active listener. And as one of the audience, I could remember her key points as she slowly shifted from one idea to another. The next, the speaker uses the format of a speech, which is introduction, body, and conclusion, which makes her speech well planned. She also engage with the audience, and I will talk about that on the next slide. Then,
Before I start, do you have childhood ambition? Yes. Do you all wanted to be a teacher? No. No. So what was your
there's no
ambition?
sound. Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, first of all, she did an introduction whereby she interacts with her audience. First of all, she started with her speech with a question to the audience, such as, "Do you have childhood ambition? Can you guess what was my childhood ambition?" And then she declares that she has many childhood ambitions, which leads to her 3 points in the body part. She talked about two of her ambitions and one career that she likes to imitate, which is teaching, even though she does not want to be a teacher. However, I noticed that she could not mention the specific time when she doesn't remember. Uh, 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 However, I noticed that she could not mention the specific time when. She couldn't remember the time. She could only remember what is the longest childhood ambition that she had. And then for the conclusion, she wraps up her speech by summarizing the ambition, which are doctor, astronaut, and how she likes to imitate a teacher. And as you can see, her speech is very much organized, which is essential in effective organization. You can finish the video.
I had so many ambitions at one time, but I remember this ambition the longest, which is doctor. I changed my ambition to astronaut. To conclude, my childhood ambition was never a teacher, but I think the longest to
Thank you.
doctor
And
and
then
astronaut.
we
So
move on to the
before
next
I start,
point.
do you
Well
have
done.
childhood ambition?
Okay, thank you. The next point is choice of words and pronunciation. Okay. The speakers mostly speaks clearly with understandable pronunciation. A clear pronunciation is important for the audience to comprehend the message that the speaker is trying to convey. Okay, some of the speaker's choice of words are suitable with the context, and here are the few words that I could analyze. The first one is idolize. She used the right word to express her admiration toward her idol at the time. Then the next one is diagnose, whereby she used the right word to describe when doctor determine and identify a disease. And then the next one, not too independent. I think she could use a dependent person instead of the phrase not too independent. And the next, the word barrier. I think it is unsuitable for the context to describe the struggle to become an astronaut. Therefore, I think she could use the word obstacle instead. And then, based on the video, can you the video?
So I always took chalks from his classroom.
Okay. Um, the way she pronounced chalk, it is a pronunciation that makes the audience confused between chalk or choke. Uh, Good pronunciation will lead to better comprehension. But then later, I could see that she said the word again in a correct manner. Okay, to conclude, it was a good
So I
presentation
always
by the speaker as we could
chalks
learn a lot about the
from
features and the principles of effective oral communication. That's all from us. Thank you.